The SEC, man, is the deepest conference in college football. I think a lot of times you hear people talk about the SEC being too top-heavy. I don't think that's the case this year. I think the college football playoff will prove that as well. In addition to them just being deep from a roster's perspective, like teams that you're literally going down the line here, 5, 6, 7 teams that are all enormously talented. I think you have the deepest quarterback conference in college football, being the SEC, which is just going to make for a tremendous product on Saturdays for all of us. So we all win from that. SEC college football sickos, lock in, baby. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. You got a 12-team playoff on deck here. Heck, I think you're going to have a lot of teams in the college football playoff this upcoming season. Whether you like Georgia, Tennessee, Bama, Missouri, LSU, Texas, whoever you support. We're going to talk a lot about your team. Don't want you to miss any part of the coverage that we have for you, the analysis we have on deck for you on this channel, the On3 YouTube channel, on this show, The Hard Count. So again, make sure you are locked in and subscribed. College football season is here. We appreciate y'all making it what it is. When you look at the SEC, you can really make a case for and against just about all of these teams. And both those points, whether it be for or against them, I think you're right. Which is kind of a wild place to be, but I think it's kind of where we stand right here going into the 2024 season. Like Georgia, they're the betting favorite. They have the best coach in college football. I think they have one of, if not the best quarterback in college football. You can make an argument for them having the best roster in college football. But if you're betting against Georgia, probably because that schedule was brutal. And you're not hearing any pushback from me about that schedule being brutal, man, because when it just comes to their road games alone, you're at Kentucky, which is a tough place to play, at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. And oh, by the way, you got to play Tennessee as well. Like, it's going to be anything but a cakewalk for Georgia, regardless of how good we believe they are. That is going to be the gauntlet for them, all right? So, again, you can make the case for them, can also very easily, I believe, make the case against them. Now, for Texas, same deal. I love Quinn Ewers. I told y'all yesterday, I think he's winning the Heisman Trophy. I love what they did via the portal, going out and getting Isaiah Bond. I love what they got on the offensive line coming back. I love what they have on the defensive side of the football. I think they're ready for the SEC. I really do. However, you can also make the case like, well, they did lose some pretty key pieces last year. Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, 2 All-American caliber defensive linemen. They're gone to the league. Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. That's darn near 2,000 yards in receiving production. That's gone. How do you replenish that? No, by the way, now you're in the new conference in the SEC, which is going to be a brand new grind for you. How do you pick yourself up after playing Oklahoma and then you go play Georgia? Like, week after week, that's going to be difficult. Ole Miss, best team Kiffin's ever had, I believe. I don't think that's a stretch. If you're skeptical of them, you could also say, well, hey, I don't know about the portal strategy. Can you really portal in that many guys and have it all work how it's supposed to? Like, we're about to find out here. Missouri, I keep going down the line here. They got the best wide receiver in college football. They had a tremendous year last year, and they got a lot of those key pieces back on offense. What's Missouri going to be? Brady let him cook, man. I told you, one of my favorite players in college football. I love Missouri. They got a very workable schedule. You're making a case against Missouri, though, like they lost their defensive coordinator. They lost a 1,600-yard rusher in Cody Schrader. They lost 40%, give or take, of defensive production from last year. Like, what's Missouri going to be? Again, we keep going back to you can make a case for and against just about all these teams. Alabama, Kalen DeBoer is 104-12, coming off of a national championship berth with Washington. Now, not to knock Washington, but I mean, I came on this show many a time and picked against the Huskies. And then many a time I came back here on a Sunday morning or a Tuesday live show and I was like, y'all, I was wrong again on the Huskies. Hey, hand up, I missed. 104-12 all time. That doesn't happen by accident. But what about the defense? A lot of unproven cats. 33% production back from last year's squad. A lot of talent, but to be unproven in the SEC feels a little bit dangerous. Tennessee, you got Nico. I mean, Nico time in Knoxville is on and popping, and the folks out there are fired up, and they should be. Dude's got all the physical attributes you could want. Also, he's a little bit twisted psychologically. The fact that he likes playing away games, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, but that's the exact kind of crazy I want my quarterback to have. Defensively, yeah, you're better up front. Brand new secondary. LSU, year 3 Brian Kelly. He has a lot of success in year 3. We've seen that at multiple stops. At Cincinnati, he made a BCS Bowl. his third year. At Notre Dame, they made the national championship game his third year. Are we really going to bet against a year 3 Brian Kelly? Yeah, but new quarterback. I love me some Garrett Nussmeier. I told y'all many a time, I think he is one of the best newcomers, rather, in the SEC, if not all of college football. I'm really excited about him. I love the way that he's wired after talking to him at SEC Media Days. A defense, though, I mean, are we sure it's actually better? It's fair to be concerned, even though you brought in a Blake Baker from Missouri. It's fair to have some questions. And so I did that exercise for us just because I think it's it's a very okay process to have some doubts about a lot of these top teams because there's reason for doubt for all of these teams. And at the same time, there's also a pretty good reason to believe that they're going to be really freaking good. And you can make a case for, I think, any of these teams being not just college football playoff teams, but potentially SEC title contending teams. So for me, when picking this conference, it comes down to 3 factors: experience, schedule, depth. All right, and you kind of weight those differently for different teams depending on their schedule. But like Georgia, I mentioned how difficult the schedule is. I just think they're built to make a run, man. Like, I do not believe Georgia will have a game where they are out-talented from a roster perspective. That's kind of the end of the story there for me. Yes, the schedule is brutal. Yes, they got to go to Texas. Got to go to Ole Miss. I just think they're built like that, man. I do. Like, I think that Georgia actually finds their way to the SEC championship game unbeaten. That's a bit of a bold statement, but that's how I feel. I think they are that good. I think what they have up front, too, isn't getting talked about enough. Those folks in Athens, man, they love what they have on the offensive line. They love what they have on the offensive line. Defensively now, I understand Will Muschamp took a little bit of a step back. It's still Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart, y'all. Like, those are still the directors of the movie. Defense is going to be just fine. Defense will be more than fine. So I think they end up finding their way to the SEC title game. I think they'll play their best football in November, and they will peak at the right time. They got the depth to go the distance. Now, who do they meet in Atlanta? Is it Texas? Is it Bama? I could see that. I could absolutely see that. But you know who I actually see in the SEC title game? Is Ole Miss just chilling there with one loss. We talked about the path for Ole Miss. No Bama, no Texas, no Missouri. You're at LSU, you got Georgia, and you're at Florida. I think they can go 2-1 in that stretch. Transparently, based on me telling you that I think Georgia shows up there undefeated, I think they only lose to Georgia and they find themselves in a rematch in the conference title game, much like in the Big Ten, where we have Ohio State and Oregon playing each other for the second time. Now, who wins this one, man? I think Georgia's on a mission. I do, man. I think that they remember vividly falling short in Atlanta. I think that team feels like if they were healthy, they would have won that conference title game a year ago. I think they believe that they have unfinished business. And Kirby Smart now does not have to manufacture any juice for this team. Doesn't have to tell them people are doubting them. Like, they're not worried about the external noise so much as how much they have missed on their internal expectations. And I think that's going to benefit them. I think that's going to ultimately allow them to have success and win the SEC in 2024. Now, I get it. It's hard to beat anybody twice. We said that about Ohio State and Oregon. That's absolutely true. However, I think you give Kirby Smart 4 quarters of film to watch on your football team against his football team from the regular season. I think that is diabolical, to say the least, for the Dogs. So I think Georgia ends up locking up that 4th college football playoff spot, I guess, based on this show. I'm not telling you they're the 4th seed. I'm telling you, if you're watching live, that's the 4th playoff spot with the bye that we're talking through here. And they get themselves into the college football playoff, and they will be the 1 seed. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.